So, driving success, NADA takeaways. I'm ready to pull David Marcroft, who's our principal automotive director here at GoTo, up on stage with me. David, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic, Malachi. Thanks everyone for
So,
joining with us.
yeah, I mean, the floodgates are still wide open with people joining us. So, before we kind of get into it, um, why don't you share just at a very high level, without going into too much detail about the three takeaways, but what was your favorite moment of NADA this year?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, there was so much to cover at NADA. I mean, as anyone who knows, many of you probably were there, right? Speaking of floodgates, it's a floodgate of information, but I think probably our ability to deliver conversational AI for dealerships in a unified platform. AI is such an important part of dealer operations, and I think the explosion of the number of options that dealers have is a testament to that. I think our differentiator where we can actually bring that to the table as a part of the phone system, right? Communications platform is really powerful. And some of the conversations that we had with dealers really resonated. Our ability to deliver leading edge tech out of the core communications platform.
I completely agree. And we'll be getting into more of that here in a little bit. But I think that, for me personally, it was just seeing how many AI vendors were there, just to kind of double down on what you're saying, like the disjointedness of kind of everything that exists and kind of how that comes into play is truly fascinating. And this was my first NADA show. And just for me to see from how big of an event it was and how many people there, how much technology and how much expertise there was really, really exciting. We talked to a number of dealers at the event, before the event, and after. And there were three main takeaways, three themes that kept coming. The first was around technology budgets that continue to be constrained. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody that the IT budgets aren't growing as quick as the world's changing. Both customers and dealers are having challenges with the channels and how they're working, and AI moving from buzzword to necessity, specifically in the dealer space. And so with that, we're gonna do a little deep dive with some data in terms of what this means for the dealer landscape and how dealers should be thinking about that. So if you can go to the next slide. The big thing here is obvious. It's not just in dealerships, it's kind of across the board that today technology budgets are more constrained than ever. We're trying to do more with less. We're trying to expand what we're trying to accomplish. And the reality that we're finding is that when we spend time diving deep into the automotive space, this is self-evident to you is attendees today, but the vehicles are purchased occasionally and service is experienced repeatedly, right? So most people buy new cars between a 4 and 7 year purchase cycle, but those cars need service, and that happens between 2 and 4 services per year. And we all know this, that service retention drives lifetime value, and CSI impacts our OEM objectives. But the challenge that I think we're all facing today is the fact that when we look at where everything is happening and we think about kind of the age of the customer, which is where I came from as an analyst from Forrester, today customers demand exceptional experiences, and one bad experience can drive those customers to an alternative vendor, to an alternative auto shop, to an alternative service station for oil changes. And so thinking about how that comes into play is critically important for us. So if you'll go to the next slide, please. The reality is sorry, go back one. Reality is that it's not just about the budget compression and the budget constraints. It's the reality for us that when we compress our budgets and we're seeing increased operational complexity, the challenges that we're facing are larger than ever, right? So customers today aren't benchmarking you against another auto dealer. If they like you, they're going to keep coming to you. We were joking before the call. Some people love Mercedes. I grew up loving BMW. Today we drive GMCs, but that preference typically isn't going to change. However, if I have an awful experience, which I've had, taking my car to be serviced, the odds of me returning to that place to dealer or service station to have the next oil change or the next tires rotated drops dramatically. So today, customers really expect instant personalized omni-channel services. Some people love talking on the phone. Some people love SMS. Some people want to go to the website and talk to you via web chat. And so the reality is that as we're increasing complexity of our operations with omni-channel capabilities, the cost for our employees is continuing to increase as our labor costs grow. We're seeing employees turn over in the automotive space in record numbers. We're seeing that dealership service departments are becoming overwhelmed, and legacy systems today just haven't been built for this moment. So, David, I'm curious kind of what your thoughts are and what you were hearing on the street as it relates to kind of these constraints around budgets and how it's affecting what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, it's a really challenging problem, Malachi, and we hear it every day with the dealers that we speak with, the dealer partners that work with us. It's, the budget is not the only constraint here, right? Every IT manager is telling us these days they've got to do more with less budget, but it's also the human capital that's constrained these days, right? It's difficult to find people that actually want to pick up the phone in a lot of cases, right? It's hard to sometimes find qualified workers for the dealership. So not only from a strictly monetary perspective, but also when it comes to the human capital of the dealership, we're having to find ways to do more with less. And so when we think about some of the tools that can be provided, right, increasing efficiency for the people that we do have, and increasing operating leverage with technology so that we can schedule more appointments with less phone calls, less agent to customer interaction. How can we leverage some of those things, right, to make sure that the gears keep turning from a dealership standpoint, and we're able to protect our customer relationships, deliver that exceptional experience that keeps them coming back despite some of these challenges. So more on that later. I'm not going to give the secret sauce yet, but a little bit of my thoughts there. Okay.
Oh, no, that's great. And if we can go to the next slide, what's interesting is it's just not the dealers that are telling us this. If we look more broadly at the statistics, just kind of real time live today at the current state of the industry, is that every industry is feeling a lot of the challenges that the auto industry is feeling. And so hopefully some of these data can go back and help you validate some of the challenges that you may be facing, right? Today, 73% of customers say experience influences their purchasing decisions. So we understand now that the dealerships are cleaner than ever. There's more focus on service, getting people into more vehicles and really trying to make sure that the entire experience is amazing is top priority according to PwC. Additionally, 86% of customers are willing to pay more for a better experience. This is one of those underlying costs that I think that people don't consider and they don't measure properly. I know that every principal or owner of a dealership knows the exact cost of a phone call that comes in, day out. They know how much a missed call costs and they know everything else. But sometimes we don't qualify what the omni-channel piece is and kind of the combined experience, where if we allow our customers and clients to pick what channel they want to focus on and make it seamless, frictionless for them, regardless of how they're interacting, typically customers are more willing to pay for that better experience. I know day in, day out that, when my wife has to go get her tires changed, or if she has something wrong with her vehicle, she prefers going to the slightly more expensive dealership just because she knows that the quality of service is going to be better, the care, the location, all aspects of that. And so we know now that focusing in on that experience is everything. And in fact, 1 in 3 customers will leave to a competitor after one bad experience. The analogy I like to use here is I typically, like, if I was to go to a dentist, I'm not going to change my dentist just because another dentist opened up more close to my house. There has to be some experience, some negative connotation that happens for me to make that change. And I think y'all know as well as anyone that those bad experiences are really critical for us to be minimizing, removing that friction. And I think at NADA, that was at the forefront in terms of, once again, where we are with the average sales cycle, the length of owning cars, and what dealers need to do to really drive that service culture so people keep coming back in between those purchases. And if we go to the next slide, I want to talk about the next area that's really interesting. It's kind of what we've alluded to before, but when we think about the omni-channel experience and what do customers want, and also what do dealers want in terms of how do we start to unify those experiences. If we go to the next slide, there we go. Today on average, you as dealers have 6+, 7+ disconnected systems. The typical dealer tech stack today is more complicated than ever, from CRMs, OEM panels. Sometimes we're using disjointed SMS. I know a lot of the providers today are using legacy phone systems that don't properly integrate into the platform. And the reality is that when we have data fragmentation, uh, and it creates advisor friction, and the advisor friction results in customer friction. And when we think about what that customer friction represents, that's the real risk for us today as dealers in terms of kind of what we're trying to accomplish. And so if we go to the next slide, I'm going to go just a little quicker so that we can cover all of the data accurately. When we think about the omni-channel continuity and the channels that we want to go after and making this available for everyone, 75% of customers expect consistent experiences across departments and channels. So whether I'm buying a car from a new dealer for the first time or I'm bringing it back for service for the 20th time, Gartner's telling us that 3 out of 4 individuals demand that their experience be the same. Additionally, they want you as a dealer to have the full context of their history. So 70% of people want to know that you shouldn't have to ask me when I bought my car. You shouldn't have to look up the VIN every time I come in. You should be able to combine my data together with my email address, phone number, and everything else to make sure that you understand when the last time my car was serviced, where it was serviced, understand when I bought it, all of the things that are associated there. And the disjointed systems take away from our ability to do that. And then 60+% of customers feel businesses can improve omni-channel personalization, not just communication. But when we think about, maybe I'm busy or I'm watching my kid's baseball game and I know I got to come in for service because I have a low tire. I might want to chat via text instead of having to pick up the phone and call, but I want to make sure that the information is there and I don't have to repeat myself over and over. And if we go to the third slide, which is kind of taking us into where I'm most excited about kind of where our opportunity is, obviously somewhat selfishly from where we were at NADA and kind of where the ball's going, everyone is taking AI seriously. I think AI has been on everyone's radar for some time, but today more than ever, the focus on AI is paramount for businesses, specifically the OEM dealers. And if we go to the hype versus, yep, there we are, the hype versus reality, everyone everywhere at NADA was talking nonstop about AI. What's really interesting, and coming from my background at Forrester and covering this before I came over here, is just how quickly the number of AI companies has been popping up. We all know the AI or OpenAI wrapped API companies that have come out of nowhere and disappeared so quickly. And we also know the pseudo successful and some very successful AI companies that are now trying to add other channels like voice and chat into their capabilities, but it's still disjointed. And so one of the things that we've been focusing in on, and what David's about to start talking about in a little bit more detail, is that when we combine our omni-channel capabilities in one single platform, why would you add disjointed AI on top of an integrated omni-channel platform? It just doesn't make sense. And so the bolt-on solutions that are popping up, we really need to understand how are they investing our data? What are they doing with that data? How are they bringing that unstructured data in a structured way back into our systems? And what opportunities do we have to continue to use our structured data? And the reality is that today, if we have a fragmented, disjointed system, that we have 6 or 7 disjointed pieces of technology that don't interact very well with each other, and we're going to layer in fragmented artificial intelligence, what's ultimately going to happen is we're going to have fragmented experiences. And that ultimately is not good for the customer. And that's what's going to drive them to find new dealerships moving forward. And so with that, I want to give David some time to kind of talk about in more detail what our approach has been, and kind of what was super exciting about the success that we had at NADA. Actually, before we get there, why don't we talk about how exciting the event was in terms of how many people were there, how many demos, the excitement that was there in terms of the participants that came through, and we're seeing how GoTo solves these business challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it was no secret that kind of the GoTo booth was the place to be for anyone that stopped by. Hopefully, a few of you anyway that are on today had an opportunity to connect with us in person. But our booth was kind of the speakeasy design. Which, by the way, we won an award for, which was super exciting as well. But there was a lot of, the dealer response was really incredible, right? I think that the message that we're sending, which is dealers don't have a technology problem today, right? The issue is not we don't have the tools we need to be successful. It's that, wow, we have way too many tools, right? How can we consolidate and really use what we have to become more efficient, reduce operating costs, tear down these data silos? Like Malachi was kind of saying, right? The enemy of a compelling customer experience is data silos, and especially when you're layering on AI that's going to directly interact with your customer, that's maybe getting some conflicting or incomplete information because you're managing all of these separate systems, right? So there's not only the actual hard cost of all these vendor relationships and vendor management, there's also the soft cost of your customer experience and kind of this employee experience as well, where you're asking your employees to manage multiple different platforms, sign in and out of things, and try to have the full customer context for every customer interaction. It's just so overwhelming. So really that's our message today, right? Is how can we take what's such a challenging problem for dealers, taking all this information across multiple platforms, consolidating it into a single platform just to make that a seamless experience, not only for the employee, but also, more importantly, for the customer.
Absolutely. And if we go ahead and pull that slide back up, we can kind of get into why we're seeing such success. What's really exciting for me personally is that our purpose-built platform, part of the reason I came to GoTo was just seeing how we solve these challenges, and the vertical specificity about what we're building today is really breathtaking. And I mean that sincerely. The amount we had 5 times the excitement at NADA than I thought we would in terms of our expectations. In fact, we actually backed off our event strategy for a number of years and really were experimenting there. But the amount of people that came by, the amount of people that wanted to sign letters of intent because of our special pricing that we actually had at the event was truly exciting. And just so everyone's aware, we have a very high conversion rate of over 50% in terms of dealers that are converting to our automotive SKU in terms of how our combined voice plus our integrations, which we're going to go into, plus AI is really solving a lot of these dealer challenges today. So with that, I'll hand it off to you, and you can kind of give them the overview.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks so much, Malachi. So we've talked a lot about the industry challenges. We've talked a lot about the data, right? And the research in the industry, okay, so what does that actually mean? How do we take that information and turn it into some decisions that we can make as a business to improve our operations? And so, GoTo, of course, this is what we think about every single day. And as we design our products, this is our intention, is to solve these problems for dealerships. So just to give you a few examples here, right? So this kind of gives you an overview of how our comprehensive solution delivers what dealers need to be operationally successful and to deliver that, second to none customer experience. But one of the ways, one of the simplest ways that I've seen our dealer partners implement technology and a truly cloud-based communication platform, which, believe it or not, a lot of dealers actually don't have a cloud-based phone service today, is the mobile app, right? So a very simple feature. A lot of dealers have access to this, but a lot of them don't actually use it for the simple reason that their phone calls are not integrated directly into the CRM, right? So there's actually no incentive for the salesperson to use their mobile app for the simple reason that it's not recorded anywhere, right? They'd rather just use their personal cell phone number. And of course, the challenge that creates for these dealerships is now you're spending, of course, thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars per dealership on leads introductions for customers to the sales team, phone ups, which are worth their weight in gold. I don't think I need to tell anyone on this call what those are worth. And now you're associating those with a person instead of the business, right? And that creates this really difficult spiral effect or flywheel, where now you've got customers interacting with individuals that may or may not be with the business next week. So every time you lose an employee, we talked a little bit about some of the labor constraints that are apparent in the industry today. You're essentially, introducing additional cost on top of the lost headcount, right? You create this revolving door of not only employees, but also customers. So that's simple, not only providing the mobile app, right? There's a lot of options out there that provide that mobile app, but providing that mobile app that syncs the data seamlessly into the CRM where the customer's information is. So now there's an incentive for the salesperson to use the business phone number to interact with customers is a powerful change, right? Simple but powerful change. So that's just one example. And then we've talked a lot about how we can embed multi or omni-channel communication with customers, right? And the idea here, of course, is to meet customers where they are. If you read any sort of industry reports, any data related to how customers are interacting, how people, right, are interacting with each other, it's all moving to text-based communication, especially with, folks under the age of 35. Okay, so we've established this trend. How do we get in front of it? And it's really about enabling the business to interact with customers, not only with text messaging or SMS, but with all text-based communication, right? And that's what we designed our CX for Automotive SKU to do, is to take all of these disparate channels, all of the text-based communication across multiple different ways that customers can interact with our brand, whether that's text messaging, our Google listed phone number, sending us a message on our website, messaging us on WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, right? All of these different ways that customers can contact us with a question or a concern, we're going to hear them, right? And not only are we going to hear them, but that data is not going to be siloed. It's going to be in a unified platform. So just a couple of use cases and ways that we're innovating to take this unified approach and deliver solutions to our dealerships. So on this next slide here, right, we're talking a little bit about we gave you a quick intro to the CX for Automotive SKU. We'll talk a little bit about BDC Complete, but Malachi, what are your thoughts so far on kind of the that approach from an omni-channel perspective, and anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and what's really exciting about the SKU, and I hate to say SKU because it comes out like it's just this thing, but what's different is there are a lot of communications vendors out there today that do talk about having a SKU, and then they talk about integrations, and you dive in and they have a HubSpot integration or they have a Salesforce.com integration. You can see below the number of integrations that we have from Cox, Purple Cloud, Car Wars, Techion, but you'll see a lot more on the following slides. And so the purpose-built integrations that we have with these native integrations and how we combine everything together to really improve CX is incredibly powerful. And I think one of the things that is probably haven't talked about enough today is the AI receptionist, which I think has been a total game changer for the dealers. I think one of the most interesting, fascinating things for me is something like 80% of missed calls occur 30 minutes before dealerships open and 30 minutes after they close, as well as, when there's overwhelming time for lunch, right? People have to eat, but also the people that want to bring their cars in are calling during their lunch breaks. And so the data is showing us over and over that there's a lot of misinformation in terms of analytics that our solution provides for the dealer space, but also the fact that our AI receptionist now can be set up with all of the dealers so that they never miss a call again, so that we can properly set up our scheduling and go from there. And so that has just been a true game changer in terms of what we're starting to see and what's really moving the needle, and what's really getting the auto dealers, principals, et cetera, super excited about all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really, the AI receptionist, right? There's so many different use cases for how we can use conversational AI to deliver compelling experiences for our customers. But, first and foremost is being able to monetize your sleep, right? The customer can call in, anytime that they want, right? And they know that they're going to have a great experience because we don't have siloed data. We have 24/7 access to the dealership's service schedule. That's just a powerful value proposition for a customer. That's how you elevate and differentiate, right? From a customer experience perspective, is with that direct connection between, again, your in-house communications platform directly with the tools that you use, kind of the nervous system of your dealer operations, right? The Xtime and the DMS products that are out there. So definitely a differentiator for us here at GoTo, and something that we are continuing to invest in, right? So anyone that's been with us for any number of months or even years knows that this list has grown exponentially, right? And it's continuing to grow. So really the idea for GoTo is that we become that fundamental base layer of all of your communications across the dealership. And you can choose to augment that service however you'd like, right? We are going to integrate and play nice in the sandbox with all of the different tools that are coming to market, so that you don't have to actually go out and buy these point solutions. You don't have to send phone numbers to other platforms to create these data silos, right? We become that single source of truth and send that data to these relevant providers to give you the data and information that you need to run your business effectively. So a few of those integrations are listed here, of course, but that I think that, just to underline that automation layer from a service perspective, as well as 24-hour lead capture with automated lead creation in the CRM. I don't think we can overstate kind of how important or valuable that can be for a dealer's operations.
100%. And Alexa, if you don't mind just hopping ahead 2 slides in the interest of time. There you go. And Bob, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. But here's what our dealers are saying, right? When we think about Larry H. Miller and we think about their dealerships, exceptional customer experience was something we lacked with our old phone system. GoTo Connect allowed us to give our customers great improved experience just on the phone system part, right? But when we think about unifying everything into one solution, truly unifying and bring it all together, Todd was able to cancel 6 or 7 products that they were using bespoke. So not only are you increasing revenue to the dealership by allowing for flexibility to drive that retention, exceptional customer experiences, but you're also seeing some things with those challenges as it relates to the pressure and the friction on the IT budgets. Because our solution is so affordable and it solves 6 or 7 bespoke technology challenges. And then ultimately, Bob, if we want to make it easy for customers to do business with us, we must make it easy for our employees. That's a very, very critical quote there, right? If we want our customers to be happy, we have to make our employees happy. We didn't want people stuck at their desks. We wanted them to use their cell phones while keeping customer data secure. So to that point is having that single number reach where we're not using a different number for SMS. We're not doing all these different things. So if we bring it all together, we're seeing massive success. And today, before NADA, we were already in over 3,000 dealer rooftops across the United States, and that number is rapidly growing. And so, if you are interested in learning more about how GoTo Connect and Automotive is helping dealers, please let us know. We'll have a poll here, so you can just ping us yes or no, and from there we will go to Q&A. So not only did we have auto dealers attend, but we also had a number of our channel partners attend, which is really exciting because not only do you know the dealers work directly with companies like GoTo, but I do know that the channel partner ecosystem does have a large focus in the automotive space. And so for any partners that are attending today, if you'd like to reach out to us, we'd love to dive deeper. We do have some certifications that we're working on with those partners, and we can work with you to figure out some MDF funds or figure out how we want to work together to continue to grow that dealer space. Let's see here. We're over time. I'm trying to see if there's any good questions that we can come back and answer. One of the questions is why is the integration piece so important? David, why is the number of integrations that we've made in terms of the space a differentiator?
Yeah, that's a really important question. So the challenge is, right, we're taking customer information. So I guess just taking a step back, the CRM is the single source of truth for customer interaction data, right? So when and I'm using the CRM as an example, but I think it is analogous to a lot of these different products that dealers are using today. But when your single source of truth for customer data is not actively talking to the system that you're actually using, right, to communicate with customers, you're relying on humans, which the element of human error, of course, you're not going to get 100% of those activities. So the basic idea is, right, you have this fundamental disconnection between the platform that's designed and that you're paying, large sums of money for, that's not able to get, it doesn't have the data that needs to be successful. And not only does the system not have the data, that of course translates to the leadership not having the data that they need to make data-driven decisions, right? So what we're basically doing is we're taking that information and breaking down that barrier between the phone system and the CRM, so that there's this constant flow of data and information. 100% of phone calls, regardless of the method that's used, are going to flow into the CRM seamlessly, and that allows you to make those decisions in the CRM, right? Which is where sales, GM, where the leadership team of the dealership is living and breathing, so that you don't have to rely on IT to do exports, and hopefully that phone system data is legible, right? So it just really closes that gap between the systems.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's dated now. I don't even know if it's still a term, but like the term swivel chair was so popular for a long time that having to hop into those disjointed systems and make those changes, you want your employees to be in the system of record where they can be most efficient and so that they can get their jobs done, is critical. And then there's one other question, but I'm going to paraphrase it. It's, if you give dealers one piece of advice on how to stay above or ahead as CX continues to evolve, I'm going to rephrase it as, and this is selfish, but what's the one thing that you're seeing that dealers say, aha, and they ultimately want to go with GoTo? Like, what is that light bulb moment that you're seeing that gets the dealers across that finish line?
Yeah, I would say, in my anecdotal experience, it's really this ability for us to solve a gigantic problem for dealers, which is you traditionally have had to choose either a tech forward solution that's going to give you all of the capabilities that you need to be successful, but that does not communicate with your ecosystem at all, right? It becomes an island. or you can choose the convenience route, which is the CRM DMS provided phone system. That's, what I like to refer to as the Alexander Graham Bell package, that does essentially dial tone, and that's about it. We have kind of bridged that gap and taken the best of both, right? We're a tech forward organization. We've been doing cloud telephony now for 20 years. And now we've taken this technology advantage and pushed hard into the integration space. So once dealers really recognize that we're not just, just another phone system that's got lots of bells and whistles, but that is going to create its own complexities, that we're actually going to integrate and seamlessly solve some of these problems for dealers. That's kind of the moment, right, where things get really exciting. Not only is there cost consolidation, but there's operational efficiency that can be gained as a result of using our platform.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's really interesting how the dealers are really seeing that we're not just a traditional phone system, and we're not just creating a SKU to say, hey, we're an auto, but it's barely dial tone and maybe some bolted on SMS capability. But we're also not, the enterprise grade contact centers that have existed for some time. We've taken the best of breed in terms of features and capabilities that dealerships and other verticals need. And then we've been very precise with those integrations. And once again, removing that friction that the dealers face with all those decisions day in, day out. How do I reduce friction for my customers? Give them multiple channels, self-service. How do I decrease friction for my employees? Don't make them swivel chair. Don't make them log into a bunch of disparate systems. And then once we do all of that, we start to see massive return for the business and growth. So with that, we're a little bit over on time. Actually, quite a bit over. I like to keep these things about 30, but I just want to say, David, thank you so much. It's our first one together. I've only been here 2.5 months, but we've already spent some good time together. There's going to be a lot more of these. You're going to be out on the road going to a bunch of additional auto shows. We might even go do some auto tours where we just go see some regional dealers. But I appreciate you coming for us today, and I appreciate all of the attendees for coming. We'll be in touch in terms of if you ask us to reach out, and we'll probably send you an email to follow up. If you want to have a follow-up, let us know. If not, just politely let us know and we'll leave you alone. So thank you. Everyone have a good day.
Thanks so much, everybody.